what I'm going to attempt to do, guys, is I'm going to, let me flip on my, look on my camera. And what I want to do is kind of go through some stuff with you guys. Good morning, and we'll work our way through this. I have come to the realization, I'm turning around. I've come to the realization that for some reason it will not let me do both. Share on Google Meet or share my screen. And here, Allison, if you would bring up what I want, the two screens that I want to bring up are, let's bring up Matrix and let's bring up NAR RPR. And then I'll just, you can just kind of go along with me.
Okay.
Kind of going through this, because a little of this is just what I want you guys to do is have an understanding of, you know, valuing properties. How many of you guys have looked at an appraisal? Have you reviewed an appraisal with your clients before? Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Has any of you, who has not seen an appraisal? Anybody out there? Okay. Anybody else? Oh, and first of all, thank you for joining me today. My name is Barry Aldridge. I am the broker in charge of Realty Revolution Mooresville. For those of you that aren't aware of who I am, I am the former owner of Realty One Group Select Mooresville, which is this lovely office which we're in now, which I don't know how many of you have seen. We hope that you will come and see the offices. It's really nice that we have the ability to plug into 3 different offices. As Realty One Group Revolution, obviously you have the Providence Road location, you have the Fort Mill location, and you have also the Mooresville location. So no matter where you are, hopefully you can find a way to plug in no matter where you are. I actually met with clients at the Fort Mill office recently. Actually, I had 2 different meetings there. So we've had that, and I've had I need to drop into the Charlotte office and do some post-closing work to help my attorney. So it has been very helpful. Jessica says, I've not seen an appraisal or gone over it with my clients. Really, whether or not you've seen an appraisal and even understand them, it's one thing. And we are not the experts in valuation. However, I say that to say this. I feel like most of you guys, if you're involved in real estate on a regular basis, you probably know the market and you know the pricing as well or better than the appraisers. And sometimes the problem with appraisers is that appraisers, they're a little behind the time, right? So they're 6 months. If you really think about it, appraisers are almost 6 months behind always, right? Because that's all they can go back. But as you guys know, there are certain things that happen in the business that will change the market pretty quickly, right? I can bring, for example, COVID, right? COVID changed things so rapidly, and it changed in a way that, oh, come on in, no worries. It's all good. No. So there are times when the market changes. And there are also times that it's very hyper-local, right? If you're around the Lake's economy or the Lake's pricing or downtown Charlotte's pricing or Fort Mill's pricing or even the mountains pricing can be different. It can be very specific, right? If all of a sudden there's an influx of people that are looking to buy properties around the lake, it does not necessarily affect what's going on in Charlotte or Monroe or Rock Hill or Hickory or wherever. So when appraisers are looking at value, they're looking at hard numbers. That's all they look at. And to some extent, that's what we should be looking at, right? We should look at numbers, because I always tell you to tell your clients the numbers don't lie, right? Because we know, right? If you do any business at all and you're working with any clients at all and you're pulling numbers, especially if you go to do a listing, you are pulling comps, you are looking at value, you're trying to figure out what is sold, right? What they're competing with, and what's a realistic value. Now, there is a starting point that I use is a way to open that conversation. And it is a different model. Understand, it is a very different model from the Zillow estimates or anything else that's out there, right? And there are some good models out there, and they get better, but they're not without fault. So how many of you are familiar with NAR RPR? Why call that RPR, Realty Property Resource, right? National Association of Realtors, Real Property Resource. It is a, and we'll pull that up in a second. That tab, and it's on your resources. How many of you are unfamiliar with it? Can you put in the chat, like, have you not used it? I see no hands here, so that's good. I don't know what you guys are out there, but have any of you not used NAR RPR?
I haven't used it in quite a while,
Okay.
so I definitely need a refresher on it.
Okay. What NAR RPR is the National Association of Realtors data pool, basically. It's created to pull data from not just online sales, the MLS, matrix data, whatever we have, right? It pulls from anywhere. If there is any data available in an area, no matter where that area is, it's the coolest thing. I actually pull it up no matter where I'm at. I was in Isle of Palms last year, and I pulled because I was curious, right? I pulled an address because, you know, I love to buy down there, but it's $1,000 square foot, so that ain't happening anytime soon, right? But the cool part is I pulled, and it pulled that data, and it gave me a range of value. It gave me an estimate, the NAR RPR estimate, and it also gives you a confidence rating, which 1 to 5 stars. And what the 1 to 5 stars means is the amount of data to support its conclusion, right? So the more stars, the closer that thing's going to be to right. And we get a lot of that here. If you see a 5-star on NAR RPR, you can pretty much go in and tell them, this is the range. You got to figure it out, but we can hone down a little bit, and we can get a little more specific because it doesn't know maybe this community from this community. And there can be differences, right? We talked about that, right? You can have one that's a really nice community and one that may not be as nice, but they'll pull that data. We can hone in on that a little bit. But if you see 5-star confidence and you've got a range of value, that's a great place to start, right? I will say this, and this is my caution. If you use NAR RPR, use it knowing that it has to be 4-star or greater for you to use confidence. Now, you can go in and tweak it too. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. How do you do that, right? So, and Allison, you're going to have to do the homework on this for me.
Well,
so
do you want my computer and you can just do it on my computer, or do you want?
I mean, if it'll work.
Yeah, I mean, I just have to put it up there next to you. Sorry, we're making it.
Yeah,
We're making it work.
fine. We're just winging it. We're winging it, guys.
Let me get back to that
I'm
screen.
sorry.
now.
Yeah, thank you.
1 second. Oh, I have so many things open.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. No, that's not the right one. I think. Okay, here we are. So you.
You go to resources. Yep. So in resources, and I'll take it. And all right. So you guys can see this, right?
Not sure if it's sharing the right page there, but
Share this tab instead.
yes.
I'll
share
just do that one.
Yes.
All right. So under resources, as you will know, the Realtor Property Resource. Trying to slide this thing. Oh, here. Oh, it goes opposite.
I go the opposite way.
I got it. Okay. Realtors Property Resource. You see that? Okay. And is that, I'm going to have to
Can you
pop
click
that tab.
Can you just click? Yeah, click that button to close all my open tabs. I have it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me do
This
that.
little one right here. Yeah.
This one?
Now
Okay.
you got a whole screen there.
All right. So, all right. So this is what you see when you're on NAR RPR. And if you were looking over my shoulder, it would have been a lot easier than trying to figure this out this way. So, for instance, and I want you to do this kind of on your own too. I want you to think about this, and I want you to give me your thoughts. Can anybody give me an address? Let's put an address in here. Yeah, go ahead.
I got one I'm going live with today. I was just doing it.
Oh, yeah.
It's 10663 Highland Creek.
10663. Okay. Island
Creek.
Island or Highland? I'm sorry.
Island. I'm sorry, Island.
No, hi, like Highland Creek, the neighborhood, right?
No, Island Creek.
Oh,
Yeah.
none of us can hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's closer to you.
So
than
now,
mine.
when we look at this, 10663 Island Creek Road, Stanfield. All right, so it gives us, and this is its first, right? It just pulls that information. It's pulling. Where is it pulling from? Do you know? Does everybody know? what's the obvious?
Tax records?
What's the first obvious that it pulls data from? Our matrix, right? We know matrix canopy. It pulls from your MLS. It pulls from the MLS. It also pulls what? Tax information, right? It'll also pull if there are any sales that run through tax that are maybe off market. If there's some, it doesn't necessarily get all of them, but some of that. That's the reason why sometimes it can be a little bit skewed. And I'm sorry, what was your name? Matthew, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So Matthew, what do you see from this initially, right? You see an RVM of 322,560, right? With 4-star confidence. So that means that there's, for some reason or another, it's not 100% sure that this is your range. It's saying the range of value is anywhere from 287 to 358.
Yeah.
Is that reasonable starting spot based on what you know so far?
Well, no, a few things I found out. This was a family property and there are 4 parcels in a row. So this house and the 4th parcel down are included or are on the same deed. So there's actually, the part I'm selling is only between 1.1 and 1.2 acres. We're going to either have to get a meets and bound description to give to the buyer, or we're going to have to survey it, which I need to ask about. So there's only 1 acre coming with it.
So to that point, see right there on the right, it says 5.49 acres. It's pulled all that together because that's the owners, right?
Right.
And you're going to slice off a piece of that and value and price it based on that. First and foremost, when you're doing one like that, surveys got to happen.
Does it?
Got to happen. Yeah. First of all, you need to make sure it can be, right? And then you need to have an actual number. It just makes it easier.
Okay.
Right. You can price it based on that, but just make sure if you call whoever's in charge, right, whether it's county or city, you need to make sure that that property can indeed be subdivided. Right. Talk to your zoning, talk to your person, make sure that you can indeed do what they want to do.
You can. I spoke with an attorney about it.
So you're already good there. All right. Then you could do it subject to, right? It could be plus or minus if you're going to do that, but you need to probably encourage them to have a survey because it's going to delay your closing. It's going to take everything a little bit longer, at least order that thing because you need to know what you're selling. And anybody that wants to buy it, they want to know where those lot lines are, right? They're going to want to know. So I would order the survey. I'm telling it's the cost of doing business. You need to absolutely do this because nobody's going to want to buy this just on the supposition of 1 acre out of 5.49. They're going to be like, what is the actual, where are my property lines? What are you selling me? So if you start the process, because sometimes the surveys have to be, you got to call ahead a few weeks. My point to all that is, here's a great example. So let's say you can do that, right? But we're only doing 1 acre. This is a great exercise. And you guys have calculators, so I'm going to have you kind of think about this. And there's no exact science in this, and a lot of it's winging it, guys. I'm not going to lie to you, right? Because it's hard to know, like, what's a piece of property worth in this location, right? In Stanfield versus what's a piece of property worth in Mooresville, what's a piece of property worth in wherever. I would say that there's some basic rules of thumb that I would give. And I'm a land guy from way back, so I'm very familiar with land. I used to love to sell land in the mountains because in the wintertime I just walked the mountains and I could sell land like crazy. It made sense to me. If you've not dealt with land and understand there's developable land, can they build on it? A lot of intrinsic value, right? Things happen with that. But let's say 4.49 of those 5.49 acres on this particular property, guys, and you're watching this, right? It's 322,560, but they only want to sell 1 acre with the property. And let's assume we're going to survey off an acre or close thereabouts, right? So we're going to what? First thing is we're going to figure out what that other 4.49 acres is worth, or what we've got to subtract from that value, right? So how would you go about doing that? Anybody want to chime in on the chat or here personally? How would you start? What do you think an acre of land is worth? in Stanfield. What's the name, Matthew?
I think, normally if it's usable, I would say a fair price is between 25 and 30. But this property that we're talking about is about 800 or 900 feet down the road,
Mhm.
even though it's on the same deed. And it is on the hillside of his daughter's property,
Right.
coming around a curve into a low-lying creek area.
Huh.
So I wouldn't assign, personally, I wouldn't assign more than 15,000 acre for it.
Is the other 4.49 acres all kind of in one? How does it lay? Just give me an idea. Like if we were a big square, this is 5.49. Is it all part of that, or is there some?
No, the house,
It's not contiguous.
no, the house is
Oh,
by itself, and then there's two parcels between it and the 4.49.
really? And the house is on what size lot? So if I pull it up on the map, let's see if it
I
shows.
think
me.
it's like 1.06. Yeah, see,
Oh, look at that. Okay, so you guys see this, right?
Yeah.
All right, so this is the property, right? And then you're talking about, do I need to pan this or make it a little
Yeah,
bit
pan it.
smaller?
yeah, as you get to that curve, that's where the other 4 acres is.
So this here.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so it does have actual boundaries. So there is something that marks these boundaries somewhere.
Yes.
Okay,
So my attorneys, and that's what I'm trying to get him
separating that from the other.
to do today. He says he can do a meets and bound description to provide to them.
Okay, Yeah.
To divide that off from that,
because if you
30.
go in the deed, it talks about multiple parcels, I'm guessing, right? It's got this parcel and it's got the other
And
parcel.
it's bordered by 4 other properties, you know, so he says he can give me a legal description of it to sell.
Okay, and I mean, there are lines there, so
Yeah.
that tells me that there's a meets and bounds description.
Yeah, I don't know
Y'all know
why.
that, right? It's just, they didn't just pull that out thin air.
And what he did, he bought all of this at one time
Mhm.
in the 60s,
And then
They get-
sold off these parcels.
sold off, he basically gave his $2 to the 2 middle parcels.
Mhm.
I guess there's.
So that, those two in between were deeded off at some point,
Mhm,
and then the remaining pieces, I see where the creek's running through
Yes.
there.
yes. So.
Yeah, so yes, you can do that, and if he can give you a meets and bounds description, you can certainly proceed accordingly.
Mhm.
But the more important thing is trying to figure the value. So if we go back to the property information, we think about this, and to your point, I think Matthew, you're really good on your price. Building lots, okay, and again, rule of thumb. What would you say the minimum cost of a building lot in the greater Charlotte area would be? What would anybody say? A buildable lot in, I know it's different, right? I know Mooresville's more expensive. I know downtown Charlotte, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just in smaller towns outside.
That
like
seems
this.
like what Matthew said about $15,000 or,
Yeah,
a
I
quarter
think-
acre of land or
Yeah,
half
in
acre.
reality,
certain area.
buildable is probably minimum of 25. Okay? And more likely it's probably 35 to 50. When a developer, and if you know a lot of this, because you go with new construction a lot, right? You see a lot of what they're doing when they're building new construction. Part of what they're doing when they value a piece of property is they say, how many lots can I get on it for this price? How many of you been to a property where they have new construction, right? And they're releasing lots and they have what they call them premium. Remember, they have premium lot, they have not so premium lot. Makes sense, right? If it's a nicer lot, it's going to cost more money. Those can range anywhere from 20 to 70 to $100,000 more for a premium, right? We've seen that. So I back out of that and say, for me, generally, land is valued in our world that we live in, outside of the high density, high value markets, anywhere from 15, like Allison said, Matthew, you had up to, I think, 35 or 40. You just have to determine what you think it is. Now, sometimes you can go in and look and see, you can do lot sales. You can maybe see if you can find some small lots that were sold in and around that area and kind of get some data that will tell you kind of what they're sold for. But I think a good rule of thumb is, and if you have some of that, that's great, because that's one place I go. I go to Matrix first, right? And I'd look at sold lots, do a radius of 5 or 10 miles, find anything that's sold in 1 acre increments or, some range of values, so you can get some idea, run a comp on that and say, okay, well, yeah, it looks like it's around 25, right? So if we looked at, let's say, 20,000, 25,000, you take 4.49 times 20, whatever. What do you feel like it's worth, Matthew?
All of those,
I mean, in per acre, I mean, what would you think? I mean, it's talking
where they are and the way it's on the side of the hill, there's no water or sewer there, I'd say probably 15,000 an acre. If you
Okay,
could get it, I'd love to buy it for that,
Yeah. Yeah,
but somebody probably would buy it for more than
it's
that.
got to have value to somebody, but that 4.49 acres could be buildable as one.
Yes.
You know, you've got more
Yes.
room, you not be able to put 3 more properties on it, or maybe even 4 more. You might put 1 more or 2. We don't know that because we don't know whether it'll perk even, right? We don't have any ideas. But if it were buildable, is say you get 2 lots on it and both the lots are 25 and 50, to your point, right? 15 times 4 is 60,
Yeah.
right? 15,000, if to Matthew's point, is 60, right? Or you could do 25 times 2 or 3 is 75. So I would think that if I were going to subtract value off for that, I would subtract somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000. It'd be realistic in reality, because what you're more interested in, what you're really more interested in is what's the value of this property, right? So if I go in and I take that market down and I reduce that price based on what I think it's worth, right? Then what's your next piece, right? So when you go in and you see this, you can do the details. And it talks about the range and the confidence, right? And it talks about the sampling. But look, it also shows you properties, right? Recently closed properties. Again, you have to look at when they were built. You have to look at a lot of other things. And it's using a small sampling. Now, I can promise you that until you do your own comps in there, right, to get a refined value, right? So here's the things down here under pricing tools, right? RVM, the CMA value, that's where I would start. Or you can do a refined value, Matthew, to start with, right? You do the refined value, subtract the land off so that you have a base. Then you go in and look for properties that are similar, right? And again, this is a property that was built in 1962. So what are we not going to compare that to?
New construction.
Yeah, anything past. I mean, you want it as close, you want as much similar as you can, right? But have I had to compare a 2000 property to a 1962 property? I have. If there's nothing else, I have to give it, I have to start somewhere. Probably in this market, like a lot of them where they still have those little brick ranchers you can find. Just put one on in Kannapolis. We're actually going under contract. That was a very difficult one, very similar. It's like in the 300s. We priced it at 300. We've had about 15 showings in about 5 days, and we're already getting an offer. You know, the value of those is, we kind of valued the same way, and we kind of kept it the. I'm going to do this. I'm going to change my value here. Okay, facts. Okay, didn't do it. Hold on. Okay, let me do this. I don't know why it's not giving me the change in the value, refined value by home improvements. Hold on. Refined value by needed improvements, by market and home conditions. I'm trying to figure out how I do this. Lot size, here we go. It's still not allowing, it's not allowing me enough. Basically what I do is I try to get it down to where I want to start. If I do why it's not letting me do this?
I think you have to click the update facts
I
thing
did.
after you type it in there. Oh.
Yeah. All right. I think I don't even use this. I actually go to the CMA. So basically the confirmed facts, when I go through here and do the confirmed facts, here's what I'll do. I'll change it to 1 acre. All right. And then I'm going to get through the bottom here. Confirmed facts and close. All right. And then we're going to find comps. Now, what are we looking for? We're looking for single family, right? Active for sale, pending, active under contract, and closed. Now, do you know which one holds the most value? Obviously, is what? Closed, right? We're going to do within the last 6 months, just like an appraiser would do. We're going to do the size. It does give you size bedrooms if you want to try to keep it like exactly the same. Here's my caution. If you try to go 3-bedroom, 1 bath only, it's only going to find 3-bedroom, 1 bath. It's going to skew that. It's okay to go 2 to 4, right? And 1 to 2 or something like that. And then you can adjust backwards if it's got more bed, if it's got an extra bathroom. We'll talk about that real quick. Any questions? All right, so let's go 2 to 4. Let's go baths. Let's go 1 to 2. We don't want to look for everything, right? Living area. It automatically gives a range of 900 to 1,700. Did you, can you confirm it's roughly 1,300 square feet?
It is, I measured it, it's like 1295 exactly.
We were really close to what I was here then.
Whatever.
Okay. Yeah, 1296 is what's on here, so
1296, yeah.
very, very close. Okay. I were to say lot size, let's leave that about the same. I might even go a little higher on the lot size to 1.50. All right, and then the price range, it's don't use the price because price is not relevant, okay? Year built. I'm not even going to use year built, but I am, well, yeah, I am. I'm going to use year built, but I'm going to stop it at, let's say, 1998. Let's just see what it does, okay? And let's just see what it does. No properties. So let's go back. Let's modify my search. Let's take off within the last 6 months. Let's take off the lot per square foot, living area per square foot. Yeah, let's do this. We don't do the price range. Let's just see if that works. And it may not find anything. We may have to go out further. And that might be the reason. Let me go a little wider. Let me hit search. There we go. All right. So, we got one. Yeah, see, I might have to go wider. Let me go a little bit wider. Hold on. I know it's crazy, but again, it's kind of a needle in a haystack, right? So you just kind of go back until you can find a few more months, right? Here's 6 sold properties. Now we can look. Oh, look, here's one in Locust. Okay, all of a sudden I'm finding a comp. I'm finding some comps that actually make sense. I know, again, there are some so let's do this. All right, so what I tend to do when I see comps then is I look and say, okay, are these comparable? First of all, will they work? Obviously, I think this one looks to me like a manufacturer. Do you see that first one? That one looks like, to me, a manufacturer. I'm not sure I would use it. I see this one in Locust that sold for $310. I'm pretty sure that's probably a decent comp. This one in Locust right here. I'm just pulling a few.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Let's see. And they've got some for sale properties. I'll use some of these because I want to see what it'll do when I wish I had a little bit larger sampling. But let's just stop with this real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And again, now it's showing a value of 231,984. That went down quite a bit, right? We dropped it down to smaller lot size. Now, adjusting the comps. Here's what I would do. And if you get a large sampling of comps, if you got one that falls outside the range, if you notice, I was looking at price per square foot. If I saw anything that was unreasonably high or unreasonably low, I don't even put them on there. As a matter of fact, when you're pulling comps on Matrix and you have 15 comps and one of them's $500 square foot, and the rest of them are, and everything else that makes sense to you looks around 300, then what does your brain tell you? We don't use that one for whatever reason. There's something that makes that one more valuable, right? Same thing on the low end, right? Because they're distressed properties. You don't want them to weigh heavily on the value. So, and again, this is not an exact science. So the first thing you can do when you're looking at these, and now I would go a little bit different if I'm looking, and I'm going to give you some basic things to think about when in terms of value, and use your own judgment when you're using this, right? When you're talking about cost per square foot, you're talking about cost per acre, you're talking about how much value do I give a home per year. Let's talk about age of a property real quick before going any further. Age of a property, how much do you think that affects a property? Do you think that this home Matthew's bringing to as our example right now is worth the same as a house that was built in 1990? The answer is maybe, right?
Depends on what they've done to the house
It's
or
amazing.
if they've done anything to the house.
It's a total 1960s house, and there's a
Yeah,
few,
so I mean, it's
there's,
like super dated and all that fun stuff, right?
and there's a few other things it needs too.
So it's going to have to get it to a level to where it's even habitable, or to a point.
It's habitable. There's an active leak in one of the bedrooms, so the roof likely need roof.
Yeah.
The inside, I'm sure anybody that comes in is going to take some walls out, probably gut the bathroom, probably I would do a back-to-back bathroom. So total renovation inside.
Right.
There's a window unit. HVAC is what they use to cool the house, and they have a kerosene furnace.
Oh yeah,
It's called a monitor. Yes.
It used to be big in the mountains, man.
The gray,
Big in the mountains.
the kitchen sink's on a gray water line that runs to the daughter's property.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're digging
And-
yourself a little deep here.
and-
with this house.
And I know every property I get some unique thing.
Disclosure.
Yeah, and the septic lines, possibly whoever does their due diligence will have to get it flagged, because I think possibly one of the septic drain lines may go to the next property, but I don't think so.
You might encroach, but
Yeah.
it's hard to know for sure.
Yeah, and the other daughter is, these two people are not getting along, so I'm sure when we sell the property, she's not going to allow
We're gonna have a
that.
lot of fun with this one.
I mean, I'm telling you, it's just like,
Yeah.
so
So all the more reason though for you to do your due
Ice cream
diligence,
love.
right? So
I don't know if you
Come on.
agree. I don't know if you agree with these prices I put down. I put,
okay, so he's putting down here, and I'll just read it off to you guys. So he's talking about refined value by needed improvements. He said a new roof, roughly $8,000. If it has to have a new septic system, 15. HVAC, 12. The exterior paint and wood, 4. Interior upgrades, 25K, and a survey of 1,200. And so that brings your value down an additional 65,000, which refines your changes to 214,841.
and so I'm planning on listing it at 219.9.
I think you're good. I think you're good. To the bottom line, you've done a great bit of research on that. And my point to all of it is, you have to take into account all of these things, right? And this is probably one that requires a little bit more work. Like Brandon and I have had many conversations over the years. He works in Beckett and certain communities that he kind of targets because it's where they live and they do a great job in there, right? What is he going to be the expert of, right? And what is the good part about some of these places compared to yours, Matthew? It's like, it's going to be really easy for you guys when you're in a subdivision. It's going to be really easy. It really is. Like you're comparing apples and apples there, right? You know, the one's a little better condition, the other one has a little better lot. Maybe it's those are minor changes. Those are minor things. But I want you to be aware that even if they have major stuff like Matthews, you can still back into it, right? And there's no right or wrong. It's just thinking about reasonable value. So The bottom line on Matthews is, in this particular instance, I would take a little bit off of the land, right? Whatever I felt like that land would be, and I would go in and say needed improvements or based on the age of the structure, if you're comparing it to other structures, right? And I think you're probably dead on. I think you're probably dead on. Somebody has to be able to buy it. Now, what is my favorite thing to say about real estate in terms of pricing? A home is only worth what someone is willing to pay and what two people who are arguing are willing to accept, right? So our job as realtors is to figure out how do we get there. Now, making that job easier is the numbers. We just have to share numbers. This is not my opinion. This is what the numbers dictate. This is my best guess of value. And if you don't like that, get it appraised. I'm gonna let them tell you the ugly. I think sometimes when we go into a conversation with people to list their homes, I use this analogy a lot. And I try to put a mindset of my client, and I hope you will bear with me because this is kind of how I do it. And you don't have to do it this way. When I have a conversation with a seller, I'll say, Allison, I know you love this house and you've been here a long time and I get it, right? I said, but did you know, and this is why I do, because there's just psychology involved in this. I said, because did you know that if you and I walk into the Randy Marion Ford in Statesville and we go buy an Expedition, and it's an identical Expedition, they're both black, they're both Platinum Max, they've got everything on, they literally are the same price. Do I not drive off that lot thinking my car is worth more than yours? Right? It's the truth. That's just our nature, right? That's our nature. What we own is worth more than what somebody else owns. Now, why do I say that? I address the elephant in the room because I want them to understand. I'm here to tell you that's what everybody thinks. But then I say the numbers don't lie, right? At some point, the numbers don't lie. And here's what the reality tells you. Now, I had a guy tell me years ago, I mean, he listed property like crazy in the mountains, and he's no longer in real estate. That should tell you a little bit. But he would list a property. It didn't matter. He'd go to your house and he'd say, what do you want to sell it for? They'd say, and you go, okay. He put it on the market. Thinking that he could change the process he went along, even if he didn't agree with it, right? But he didn't argue with them. He didn't sit there and tell them, I'm just telling you, I'm not going to waste my time on it. Now, I've been in this business long enough now to know that I just ain't doing that. I'm not wasting my time, not wasting yours. I will walk away from a listing before I'll waste my time on a listing. And if I tell you that I'll take that listing, if we sit there and we're in an impasse, and we talked about this, right? Brandon and I, if I take that listing and I'm saying you're 25 high, I need you to sign something saying that you know you're 25, that you know that I've told you you're 25 high, and you're not going to fire me because we didn't sell it when I told you it needed to be here, right? Why is it important to price a property correctly? Why? Anybody?
The perception of the public, like
Yeah, right?
when you price it too high and you keep having to reduce it, that makes them think not just that the pricing was wrong, something's wrong with the house.
You chase the market, it develops a stigma. There's all kinds of bad things that can happen, right? Did you realize, I don't think anybody realizes, the most fun thing that I ever saw was in 20 and 21 in the insanity of COVID, when real estate went out the wazoo, right? Everybody thought that we were pricing properties high. We weren't. Do anybody remember what I was telling you at that point? Because that's really what everybody did. Slide it in right under and watch what happens. Way more, right? I mean, there were multiple dozens of them, and you saw it over and over. You didn't see somebody just because they could get 100,000 more, pricing 100,000 more. No, they priced it right at or below the market, and the market drove that up. The demand drove that up. And it's still a little bit true today that if you will, and it's hard to do, But if you will constantly price at or below or just under the market, first of all, you won't have to worry about selling. It won't develop a stigma. It'll sell in time. And so when you have a conversation about price, and I'm skipping ahead to a lot, but just make sure that you tell them what is important to you. Do you want to sell it fast, or do you want to sit there? Now, if we price it at 500,000 when it's really worth 450, do you understand that it will eventually sell for 450?
Or less.
Or less, right? What happens if you keep it at 500 when it's supposed to be priced at 450, and all of us smart realtors are looking in that neighborhood? What are we going to say? Go look at it, but it's not worth that.
They can see the same thing we can.
They absolutely do. And the consumer's way smarter now than they ever have been. They have access to similar tools and data. They're not stupid. You're just wasting your time. So my only thing to tell you guys is when you're having pricing questions or you're working through pricing, make sure that they understand that at the end of the day, is critical. And listening to us is critical. Practice this stuff. Practice this stuff. If you want to do some fun stuff, find one that has sold, or pick a property that's sold, but whatever you do, don't look at what it's sold for. And use it as an example. Play with it. Don't look at just go in and try to figure out what that thing should have sold for. Or do some prognostication. Go in some of ours that we have under listed right now, or some of yours, and look at it and say, is this property priced correctly? And if you go back and look at everything that sells within a certain time frame, there is no doubt in my mind that it was priced right. I'll give you a perfect example. Megan Pence, who was one of our TCs and was an agent with us, and by the way, she's joining again. So I'm doing that listing at Kannapolis to help her. And so on the back end is her husband's family's property. And we're talking about the value in the back end. And I told her I put on the list because she's not an active realtor right now. And I said, I'll work with you on this. And we had a few conversations. I let her do the work. And she came to me and I just said, looks good. I kind of double checked her numbers. And I said, I think you're reasonable. I said, do you think you will price it there? She said, no, we'd like to price it just a little bit below that, about 5,000. I said, you'll sell it fast. We priced it 311, and guess what? I can't really say, but I mean, the offer that's coming in is 3,000 up in less than a week. So did we price it right or not?
Yeah.
How important is it, to your point, right? Price it to sell, because at some point greed kicks in. You got two people arguing, makes it even worse, right? Greed kicks in. Everybody thinks their expedition's worth more than the other one. But you have to make them understand there is a correlating thing, right? You can either sell it fast or slow, and that will dictate the market, right? And if you overprice, you will cut your profit by an average of 10 to 15%. What you thought you were going to make. That's a lot, guys. If you think about it, $1 million properties overpriced, you cut 10 to 15%, you hurt them. But they'd price at $9.99, they just sold it. You see what I'm saying? So I need them to understand, and you need them to buy into that, right? So the biggest thing when you do a listing appointment is say, here's your decision, Mr. Seller, right? Here's my range of value on this one, whatever that is. Here's my range of value. Here's what we think it's worth. And if we price it at this, I think you'll sell it inside of 60 days, probably inside of 30, and possibly even quicker. Okay? But if you price it here, I can promise you it's going to take twice that long. And by the time it's over with, you'll not get that price that we got. It'll end up low, because your point is, right, the longer it stays on the market, the more it develops a stigma. And at some point, now, am I saying don't take a listing if it's overpriced? No, I'm not necessarily. But what do you need to do to ensure that you're not the bad guy? Because you know why expired listings are you know, a big market, right? And people that are smart understand how to work that market, because they're just going to fire you. And they're always going to go to the second person. Most time that second person ends up selling it, because they end up having to sell it for what you should, or probably told them or less in the first place, right? Don't be afraid to say it. Don't be afraid to say it, because if you don't, they're going to kick you to the curb and they're going to use the next person, and you're out marketing money, you're out time, effort, wasted energy, and everything else, right? And the longer you're in this business, and when you get to a point where you understand that, the listening is not good unless it sells. Because I don't think, the last time I checked, I don't ever get paid unless something sells, right? Right. So at the end of the day, make sure that you have that conversation with the client, and just have an honest conversation and just say, I just want to make it very clear that you want to price it at 500. I told you it's 475. And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit it. But I need you to understand that if we don't have, what's the first indicator of it's overpriced? Somebody tell me. What's the first indicator in the first week or two?
No showings.
No showings, no activity, nothing. Open, nothing. Nothing. It ain't because it's ugly. I mean, sometimes it can be, right? I mean, it can be. We've all seen that, right? Nice. It's overpriced. It's not, it could be, there's a few instances where maybe it's just a flooded market. Maybe there's too many houses for sale. Yeah, it's overpriced. If you get no activity, now, what does that mean? What would I tell my seller before I leave that day? We're signing, we're done, we're going forward. Okay, fine, I'm gonna put it at 5. You want, I think it's 475, 480, but okay, we're gonna start there. But here's, Mr. Sellers, what I'm gonna leave you with today, and I'm gonna follow it up with an email so there's something in writing, right? I'm gonna say, per our conversation today, I wanted to let you know the real pricing is at your request at 500. My recommendation is 475 to 480. And I'm here to tell you, as I spoke to you in our conversation, if we have no showings, no significant activity, especially no interest that puts to the point of we're thinking about making an offer, showings is my favorite one, because they ain't looking at it. It's a no-brainer, right? But if we're not there by what? What do you think? 1 week, 2 weeks, or a month? What do you do? Depends on the property, maybe. I just think you've got to be careful if you wait too long.
I would look at the average days on market for that specific neighborhood or general area, and I would use that as a guideline to say, like, we haven't had a showing in 2 weeks, then we need to make a change. It depends on the days on market.
Timing is part of it too, you know, depending on the time of year you're doing it.
Timing is true. Yeah, true. Very, very, very true. Generally, again, rule of thumb, 2 weeks for me.
Like,
I ain't gonna let it
might
go
be a
much
little
more than 2
longer,
weeks.
depending on the time of year, might be a little shorter depending on.
Yeah, if it's a slower market, maybe it's winter, maybe it's over Christmas holiday, and there's some excuse for that, right? People have other things on their mind, right? In certain parts of summer or certain parts of the year. But I would find out in my mind, I would come up with some hard day. Yeah.
I've got another one in Locust, another old.
You've got all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah. It's got curb appeal.
Uh-huh.
It's a
Location.
60s house too.
Okay.
It's we started out 420 something. I went off this, and I told her, I said, it was updated somewhat in the 90s, so it's okay. It's livable.
So it's updated a little bit, but it's similar property to some degree.
It's got a basement apartment, so you've got about 2,400 square feet of livable space, but it's a full kitchen and everything in the bottom, and then there's another 1,100 feet of basement.
Wow.
We just moved it to 399 from 420 something, and we've had one showing with some interest since we moved it,
Right.
but we're not having any activity. And I told her, I said, really, you know, I was happy to get her under 400. She says, well, I'm not a motivated seller, you know.
They're not until they are.
Yeah,
They're not. That's their famous word. I'm not in no hurry to sell. Why don't you sell my house? Right.
Yeah. So I just keep giving, you know, I'll give her a weekly update
Yeah,
I'll call
that's
her, I'll-
another good thing.
I'll drive through. We have a good relationship, but I really need, even though there's tremendous value, it's like 3,600 feet.
Mhm.
Nobody's taking it, and it's an acre lot.
But it's a unique property, but you know, somebody might look at that and say, well, I could rent out the bottom, right?
Yeah.
It's not currently rented.
No,
There is income
and-
potential.
And we pursued splitting the lot, which there's barely enough room to do it, but we really need a survey to do that.
You could
and-
take some of the land off, right?
Yeah, and commercial is not, even though there are commercial businesses right beside it, they're not allowing this lot to be rezoned. So that was one person that would have or could have bought it, a person that wanted to do a salon.
They were going to do something commercial with it, but they're not allowing that at this time.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it might not be in the future, but it is, that doesn't matter right now.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
in their city plan right now, so
Okay.
just kind of sitting there.
I think what I just want you to understand is when you're pricing a property, just have good conversations with the seller, right? Make sure that you're saying, listen, I don't claim to be the expert wizard of all. I don't know it all. I don't know it. And I'll defer to the numbers all day. I'll defer to the numbers all day long. And I say, if you can show me a house in here similar to yours that sold for that, like I'll search it. Let's go. Let's find a home that is similar to yours. And that's another good one, right? You can go in, if you want to argue your point, go in and say, okay, fine. You want to try to sell it for that? Well, show me somewhere in here, because otherwise it's a black expedition example, right? It's the same. You're not thinking about this in the right way. And I'm just only operating on what I know. And nobody's going to pay you more than what the market value dictates. There are a few examples where that's not true, right? If somebody sees an intrinsic value in something, you know, why people pay $1 million for a mobile home on the lake, right? They ain't buying the mobile home, right? They're buying the future value. They're seeing something that's beyond what that is. Why do you think they're paying $500,000 to $800,000 literally for teardowns in old Charlotte right now, in the city, like it's happening all around, and they're just holding out, right? And they're slowly gentrifying and selling it all. The lake is a perfect example of that as well. When Lake Norman first started, I mean, we had campers and mobile homes and stuff on it. There weren't these gigantic, gorgeous places and all of these. It was literally second, like people had these lake houses. They camped and they did all that. But over time, the value and the way that people did that changed. And now we have what we have, right? Same with Lake Wiley. And to my point, you have to just look at what the value is at that time. Now, let me back up a little bit and give you some basics, okay? Everybody wants to know, like, well, if I'm comparing these two houses, one's a 3-bedroom, one's a 2-bedroom, and I'm trying to figure out this. How do I put a value on a bedroom or a bathroom? Anybody know? Where would you start? If you didn't know anything else, and it's okay. There's no wrong answers, by the way. If anybody wants to chat, I'm just curious. What would you put as value for a bedroom? In this example, let's say the one in Stanfield, let's say everything else was 2-bedroom. You got 3, right? You got 1 bath, so we'll get to that in just a second. But let's say everything else is 2-bedroom. You got 3. Make sure it's a little more valuable. I 100% agree, right? But how much? Go ahead.
I'd say between, depending on property, 10 to 20,000
It's a good starting point.
on this particular house.
Exactly. And it all depends on the age of the house and the style of the house, right? A house in, we've had these conversations multiple times, right? 5 versus 4 in Beckett versus somewhere in Mooresville versus somewhere else. Have to see what those are selling for, right? So if I can look at a 3-bedroom house, and sometimes it's just the building cost in your mind. And this is another piece that it's not an exact science, but talk to contractors. What does it cost to build a bedroom? What is a bedroom, like adding a bedroom, add to a house in terms of your cost? And they'll say 40, 20, 40, 60, 100. Depends on where it's at, right? Depends on the thing. if you kind of get an idea about where homes are priced, right? And the fastest way to do that is go look at everything that's sold. If you're in a neighborhood or if you're in an area where you can pull some comps, look at what the 2-bedroom sold for. Look at what 3-bedroom sold for. Compare the square footages and see if they really got more square footage with that. Is it all built into the one thing or not, right? I think that at the end of the day, what you really want to do is just have a basic idea of value. So what I start with, and I back out from this, is older homes. I will say a bedroom will add anywhere from 10 to 20,000. Okay. Bathroom, again, the cost to build a bathroom is what? Anywhere from 5 to 50, right? If you Mac Daddy it out. But let's just talk about the basic bathroom. Basically, I would say bathroom somewhere around 7 to 12 to 15 on a lot of homes. It can be a little more on the higher end homes, so just keep that in mind, right? Have conversations with builders, and you can even go in AI and just do a little bit of research, right? You can do a little bit of research on what is the intrinsic value of one property versus the other. What do you think is the most important thing to you guys to do as real estate agents, realtors, is as becoming experts? That's a funny word, isn't it? Experts. Yeah, I'm an expert. What is so important? What is the most important thing that sets you apart as a real estate agent?
You want to be believable and trustworthy you want to speak with authority.
Yeah.
You don't want to speak as someone with a question mark.
And what gives you the authority, though? What gives you the authority is the what? It's the background. It's the work that you do. It's the daily work that you do. If you are not spending, now I'm going to get on you because I'm doing this every single day. If you're not spending, and I've done this for 27 years, I guarantee there's not a day I don't go on my computer and spend at least 10 to 15 minutes on Matrix. Very important. Keith and I talked about this, right? Keith is researching properties. He's learning. He's digging in, right? He's new. He's pulling all the data he can pull. You guys pull data all the time. Pull up the hot sheet. Look what's new. Look what's sold. Look at those properties and try to understand why they sold for that. Don't just sit there and, if you're playing this game and you're not doing a little background research, that's what gives you it gives you the authority. It gives you when I speak in terms of I know, because I am doing the research. I am. Now, before I go meet up with anybody on a listing appointment, I have done my research. I have done my homework, and I got reams of it, because I do not want it to be just me. It can never be just you. Wasting your time. Don't make it about you. It's about what I do. It's about my background. It's about my research. I've looked at this, and here's the problem. Right? I had a modular home. Right now, it's getting ready to go on the market. Man, finding the value in that thing is absolutely insane. You don't know why? It's a modular home in York, South Carolina, out in the country. Not really out. I mean, there's some nice subdivisions around it, but they built a true modular, nice one, really cute. And when it comes to a new listing, you'll think like, wow, it's adorable. But guess what? Every house around it, every single house around it. Nothing wrong with them. Double wides, single wides, double wides. Some of them old, some of them not so old. Did they make a mistake putting that modular in there? Yeah, and now they won't pour something. I think they'll get close, because I've pushed them hard. I think this is another one where I think they're a little high, by about 20. And I've told them that we're going to go in, and I don't care if you're in a hurry to sell or not, and you're not in a hurry to sell and you're just going to wait, but I'm here to tell you, and I've made it very clear to her. And here's what else I put in my listings now. Y'all listening? If the property does not sell, if you terminate, or it expires, you're going to write me a check for all my marketing. And I put a number down. I put it in there. I used to never do it. I was willing to take the chance. I ain't doing it now, especially if you're going to sit there and argue price with me. Why would you dare? I'll tell you right now, you need to find another business if you're giving people your money. Right? So my point to all of that is do the research, do the background, and understand. So bedrooms can be anywhere from 10 to 50,000, again, depending on the age and everything. Now, let's go back to age of house real quick. Do you know that a house is devalued over, they call it the life or expectant life or age, whatever, effective age, I believe is the word. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. The effective age of a property is how long do they depreciate out a house? You know, 100 years. Okay. So it's $1 million. If it's $1 million house, it loses how much per year? Okay. Sorry, I'll answer your question. So why would that matter to me? Because I'm going to compare a 2000 house to a 2021. If all things else being equal, right? They're going to take some value off that house because what? The bones of that house, until it's been radically altered, and even if it's radically altered, it's still got the same walls. They typically just gut them. And that doesn't mean it's not effective age doesn't change a little bit. But if all of things else being equal, there's 20 years difference in $2 million houses. What do you think that other house is worth? The 20-year-older one. Could be as much as 200K less, right? See my point? Those things add up. So that's one of the other ones that I will use when I'm doing my averages. And I don't give them quite that much. And sometimes it's just I'll pull a random number, like I'll pull 4,000 or I'll pull 2,000 or whatever I feel like I need to give it some value, because if everything else is being equal, right? Would we all agree that that's a fair assumption, right? Now, if they've done the work and it's up to speed, it's like properties in some of these communities that are 25 years or 19 years old, and they're all of a sudden, to your point, they're getting new roofs, they're getting new HVAC, they're getting all these things, and they've had just a lot of cosmetic updates, and they really are, in essence, a lot better. I wouldn't quite change that number as much, because I don't think, instead of maybe 5 a year, it's maybe 2,500 a year, but it's still going to be worth a little bit less. Ask Mr. Appraiser if you don't believe me, because he puts a number on that. Again, a little subjective, but don't forget to account a little bit for the age of the property, all things else being equal. Bathrooms, another thing. Again, bathrooms can be anywhere from 5 to 50. You have to decide, right? In little houses, smaller houses, 5 or 6 and 8, whatever, right? If it's got 2 and 1 and that one's got 1, I would adjust that. At the end of the day, I'm going to say all that to say this. Our NAR RPR is so good that if you pull really good comps, I got a little sliding scale right here, and I'll just go like this. If I don't like it, if my brain tells me that house ain't worth what the other one is, I'll just move it till I like it. I know that sounds really bad, but it's the truth, and I promise you I'm more right than I'm wrong. See that? Watch.
So each of the comps, you can adjust them?
Yeah, see, how does this property compare to the subject? Better, worse, or better?
Oh.
See, I move it to better. If I move it to here, it says note, the adjustments you make affect the property. Look what it does. See, it went up. My subject property went up because I said this property I'm comparing it to is worse. Now, I don't just do that randomly. I open the photos. I try to look at it as close as I can. I'll start here. I don't go deep in until I have to. I can probably get everything I need right here, and I get enough to show me what I need. This is a quick way to do it. I'm giving you the background so that if you have to justify it, you go a little deeper. It's just math, right? This is a nice little sliding scale, and I just play with it, right? And sometimes it's just intrinsic value. I look at that one and go, okay, well, this one says, and I'll just give you an example, okay? So they're 1518, right? 1967, all things being equal. I would say it's probably a little bit better just based on the first picture I see. Now, if I open those pictures and I roll through and I look through those pictures just a little bit, right? I go in, oh, nice floors. Again, I'm gonna know what my subject's like, right? And if I see this thing has refinished floors, let's go a step further. Let's walk another picture. Oh, they've opened up that room between the living and the dining. Look at that. See what I mean? They've done a little bit to that. Okay, let's look again. Again, I'm gonna look at the picture. I'm not just gonna pull it out of my, you know what, right? A lot of people think I do, and I kind of do sometimes, but I mean, it's not an exact science, but it does help. If I start here, because RPR is so good to start with, it already gave me 4 stars. All I gotta do is mess with this just a little bit and tweak it. And I promise you, what I take to them will probably, I can take it to the bank. All right, I'm just looking at a couple more pictures. I want to see the kitchen. I'm gonna assume I see yours, and I think I know based on the conversation, right? Okay, you know what? It's a little dated, but let's go to a bathroom. Can you show me a bathroom, please? Show me a bathroom. Okay, kitchen. Okay, galley kitchen. Nothing really updated. I'm just looking at some things. I want to get a feel, right? I'm looking. Okay, you know what? Oh yeah, there we go. How you like that? Here's the beauty of that picture. Everybody see the green bathroom? If you see it up. I sold a house recently that had pink tile in 2 of the bathrooms, and yellow tile in 1 of the bathrooms. But what was it? It was immaculate. It was so nice. It's a little retro. I told Dawn, I said, I think this house will sell. Like, they'll change it eventually, but the beauty of it was so much nicer than most of the other homes in that age. I said, price it right and it'll sell. Sure enough, right? So in this instance, after seeing those pictures going, yeah, it looks pretty good. It's really not that bad. I'm going to guess that this was a little better. Now, I slide it a little bit. Look, it goes 4,000, it goes 8,000, it goes 13, and it goes to as much as 17,000 more. This is where the subjection comes in. This is where I decide what I feel like. Now, why can I do that? We talked about it earlier. I've done my homework. I spend time on the MLS. I know what these houses should sell for. I could pull a number of a house, and sometimes I don't even have to look at RPR when I walk into a neighborhood. I guarantee you, Brandon and his wife, when they walk into a listing appointment in Beckett, they know almost every single time, and it's almost proven every single time in it. Even if you don't sell it,
Yeah, I'd say this, right, recently things are changing a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we have a new construction neighborhood going up around the corner from us.
So it's affecting.
It's the first time that we've had any homes. There's a bunch of the neighborhoods around us, but it's the first time that we have homes that are going to be similar size.
Mhm.
And so that's affecting it because our neighborhood is now old.
Older.
You know, the newest house in our neighborhood is 2017, so we're running on almost 10 years old.
Yeah,
And
you're
you can,
right. Yeah.
and you can see, you know, if you haven't done anything to update your Beckett home, and it's still looking like 2012 to 2015, these new construction homes are going to be
super attractive.
significant and super attractive.
And they they offer their own attraction, right? There are people that are, what you do get in the older neighborhoods sometimes is a larger lot because they tend to keep getting smaller, right? We all know that. I mean, depends on what somebody's looking for. But as a general rule, if you're looking in a neighborhood, and especially if it's a subdivision where you have lots of comps, right? It's going to be easy. It's going to be super easy, in my opinion, right? What's the last piece, and it's really the most important piece, what's the last piece that I've not talked about? Because it's everything about, they say it's everything in real estate, but it's not.
Location.
Say it 3 times. with me.
Location.
Location, 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 right? That's the difference in a house why do you think the house that's bordering the street in a subdivision is the hardest one to sell?
Location.
Location, right? House that has woods out back and really pretty something out back versus you're looking right at your neighbor, whether above you, below you, or like this, right? When you say that this house over here that's backed up to the park would be worth more, why do they put lot premiums on new construction? They know, and they can, and a little bit of that is they manipulate it. Location is important, and that is the last piece. So if all things being equal, do not ever fail to look at the satellite view of this property or the comp properties if you're questioning it. You'd be like, why did that thing sell? Like, why is that one priced that way? Probably a reason. Well, why did it sell for that? And there are certain times that you'll see when it sells under distress for whatever reason, and they steal market. I told you, take the bad ones out, take the extra good ones out. Don't waste your time with them. And don't let them talk about, well, yeah, that one down there sold for this much. And that, you know, no. It was a different property. It's an anomaly. It doesn't compare, unfortunately, right? So location is important. Okay, where do you put value on that? Have you ever looked at a subdivision and looked at the comps? Find them. Look and see what's sold at on this side of the road or street and this side of the street. RPR pulls them up. It's super cool. Like I can pull up RPR. I love the map feature because I can click on all those properties, every single one of them, or I can do the satellite view and I can see what's behind them. And I can go, wow. Have you ever looked at those and wondered why these sold for $250 and these sold for $350? There's 100% one reason. That side of the road's better. It has nothing in the back or something that causes it to be a better property, right?
Or a neighborhood where half of it's in one state and half of it's in the other state.
Well, now that's crazy, but it's right. Yeah.
South Carolina.
That happened to me with an appraiser down in, oh gosh, it was Mint Hill, I think, about
Mhm.
4 or 5 years
Yeah, where it's
ago.
across the line.
Half the neighborhood was in Mecklenburg County, half was in the other county, and
It values
he was
differently.
only looking at properties in the other county. And I was like, there's a house across the street that is a better comp than the 3 you're using. It's the same damn house.
Yeah.
Just because it's in Mecklenburg County doesn't mean it's not a comp.
And that's true because he used the county, which he shouldn't have, right? He really shouldn't have. The first place you should search is within the subdivision if it exists, right? Find everything you can within the subdivision as it exists. Then you branch out. What is an unacceptable amount to branch out? Like what would you think would be a radius that would be a bridge too far? Anybody?
It depends on the type of property.
Yeah.
Right?
Because sometimes it's unique. Like if it's a unique property, you got to go way out, I think. But what do you think is the general rule in subdivision type world?
Subdivision world, I try to stay within 2 miles.
Start with the subdivision, right? You start within the subdivision, but then you might try to find similar subdivisions that are within a mile or two. That's a good point. Yeah. What do you think, Matthew?
I had a house and there were no recent sales in our neighborhood and our neighbors sold it because they were getting divorced. Agent, I know her too, she priced it really low. And about 2.5 miles down the road, the same builder built the same house. She was going to list it for $399, and they had just sold the same house down the road for $477.
Good grief.
Exact same house. And I was telling her, just please think, well, the appraiser's not going to go that far. And I said, well, maybe you should show him. But now the houses, the same builder's building right around the corner, 2 years later, same houses, and they're 509.
Well,
So she left a lot of money on the table with,
So that's why I'm on the table.
yeah,
But it seems so
it made me look bad too because I have the same house.
and it pops in as a comp.
Yeah.
And it all of a sudden has weight. I'm not seeing as many evidences of that in the realtor world out there that they cost their client money in underpricing, but it happens. It definitely happens. So
It happens more often the other way around.
it does happen more often the other way around, but I have seen it like that, Matthew. And I do think that our job, first and foremost, is what? What do we tell the people when we go to list their house? Our job is to what? Sell your home for the what? Maximum amount that we can get for it in what? The least amount of time. That's our goal. It should be your goal. Or meet your expectations of whatever that it is that you need to sell your home, Mr. Seller, right? And you can go on all day long if you can find people that you underprice them. And I think it's to caution you when you're having conversations, because I've run into this, right? Well, you just want to price it low so you can sell it because you don't get paid until you get sold. There's some truth to that. But I have never once undervalued a property just to sell it. Not once in 23 years, guys. No, nor will I. It's not my job. I don't sit here doing that. Now, listen, the temptation is great if we could, because we all love payday, right? We want to get paid, but you have to balance that with ethical duty to your client. And my ethical duty has always been to my client to be as fair and honest. To your point, Matthew, that's all you can be at the end of the day, is if you're fair and honest with your client, and you have good conversations, and you make that there's no ambiguity, there's nothing you left unsaid, right? They're gonna know how I feel. Trust me, if I go in and take a listing and we're arguing on the price, they're gonna know. I'm like, I promise you I'm coming in 2 weeks and we're gonna have that conversation. As a matter of fact, I've actually had the reductions included within my listing packet. You done it, Stephanie? It's funny. Has anybody ever done that? Like, I literally, if you're going to argue with me, the only way I'll list this property is if you understand that you understand this is what's going to happen in a month, in 2 weeks. If we don't have noticeable activity, there's not been any showings. This is going to kick in,
Typically, when I've done that,
and then
that's
and again and again.
they, after that first time,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, what do you think I need to be at? We'll go ahead and do it, because they were not listening the first time and they knew I was not going to back down.
Yeah.
And I was serious
Yeah.
about getting them sold, what
Yeah.
they said their goal was.
Yeah.
And they went ahead then and did not make me jump through the hoops of getting it where it needed to be. They just went ahead and made the one-time jump.
At the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Have conversations with your seller. Say, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear? Or do you want to hear in my experience? Do you want to know the truth? Right? You can't handle the truth. Remember the famous line, right? Have a conversation with them, right? Do you want me to just nod my head? Because I promise you, I leave here and somebody's going to come along and if you're competing, right? And by the way, I'm not competing. Here's what I am. I'm good at what I do, and I can sell your house for more money and quicker than everybody else. I know what I'm doing, and I'm very confident in my abilities. But you're telling me the house is worth $500. I'm telling you it's worth $450. There's nothing out there. If you can find it, I'll eat crow and tell you I was wrong. If I can find it and you can defend it. But here's what I will do. I walk out the door, and we've done this with lost listings. If I walk out the door, the next person coming in here, you're going to find somebody that's going to be willing to do what you want them to do, because they will do just like my little old man did in the mountains back years ago. And he's going to say, sure, I'll list it. Put it on the market. Throw enough mud against the wall, something sticks, right? No, not really. At the end of the day, he may get you to reduce. I'm just telling you, you either come with me knowing you're going to reduce if we don't sell it, or I don't want to waste my time, or you pay me up front for marketing, right? I'm just not going to do it, guys. It's not worth it. I think at the end of the day, go ahead and address the things that, how do you stop? How do you close the listing? And I'm going to end with that. How do you close the listing? How do you tell them? Because you know they're interviewing people, right? Or let's say, what would you do to get them to sign with you at that moment? Don't have to do a deal. I'm gonna knock a % off if you do this. No, that's not the point. What are some of the things that you can think of that you could say as a closing that will make them list with you? Some of you have listed a lot of properties, but just tell me kind of what your thoughts are on this. Anybody, and you can chat if you want to, guys. If you want to put something in, I'd really be interested. What would you do to close a listing? I'll tell you what I'll say here in just a second. But y'all tell me, anybody will say what you say to close a listing? Like, do you try to close at that moment? A lot of people don't. I do now. I used to not. I do now. I was like, I'm not coming back. You listed with me. I know it sounds stupid, but it's true, right? I will look at you and say, I'm not coming back. You list with me and believe that I can do this better than anybody else. And I have the experience that you need. And I promise you, we will get it done together. And I'm not promising you I know everything. And I'm not guaranteeing that even if we price it right, that we won't have issues, because we can't control everything, right? But at the end of the day, if you list with me, I will give you something that I promise nobody else will do. This has been my little trick for the better part of 20-some years. I will outwork every one of you. I look at them and say, here's what you get with me. No one, not a single person out there, there's however many realtors in this market right now, there ain't a single one of you that will outwork me, out hustle me, out negotiate me, and outsmart me. I am the best at what I do for a reason. Say it till you believe it.
Yeah.
Say it till you believe it. At some point, they need to know that they have that confident person that's leading them, right? They need to know that you have that. Not cocky. There's a difference, right? I'm not cocky or arrogant. I don't say it in a way like that. I promise you I don't. It may come across that way, and I don't say that. I say it very humbly. I said, nobody's better than me for a reason. My dad taught me from an early age. Be the first one to show up, be the last one to leave. Don't let anybody outwork you. Don't let anybody outdo you in anything. If you have employees, you never say that you're not willing to get in that dirt and dig and do it and do everything they do. If you want the respect of your peers, you outwork them. You work as hard and you be that responsive person. You work well together, right? You're not that crap butthole that, everybody thinks everything has to be a fight. I get more done by cooperation. I really do, guys. I can be a confrontational person, but I really get more out of cooperation than anything. Like, it's easy if you understand that at its core. And again, confidence and arrogance are two completely different things, right? So please let me make sure you understand that. I don't say that in any other way, but that I have the confidence in my abilities as a realtor. What gives me that confidence? And listen, I don't want, I can't tell you the number of times you guys have come to me over the years and say, God almighty, I've got this agent on the other end says, I've been in business for 35 years and I'm just, don't lord over me. Do not lord. I don't say 23 years in this business for just because. It's not. I don't lead with that. Don't say anything about it. What I know is that I have worked very hard. It's what I do on a daily basis. And I told you, if you're not spending 10 or 15 minutes on Matrix every day, playing with this stuff, second guessing yourself, right? Because you will, right? You'll second guess yourself. You're like, why didn't it sell, right? It's just in a market where there's a lot of stuff for sale. Sometimes there's things we can't control. I want you to be an expert in the subject. Be the subject expert, right? Be the market expert. And listen, go into a new place, learn a new zip code, go in and don't be afraid to get outside of what is your comfort zone. God only knows I am. I'm all over the place right now trying to figure out where my niche is. All of a sudden I'm 60, going on 63 years, and I've become the 55 plus whisperer. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. It's like, it's crazy. Like all of a sudden they see my age and go, hey, he's an old guy. We can trust him. Hey, whatever. I'll embrace it. It's fine, and I don't have a problem with that. But just do your homework. And if you have questions, reach out to the people that support you, right? That's why we're here. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with many of you here, and I hope to have with the other ones. As your broker, that's what I do, right? I no longer own the company, so Allison and them handle all the stuff that's not that stuff, right? It's about your CE, it's about your ethical duties, it's about growing your business, it's about problem solving. That's why you reach out to me. And you send it to agenthelp@barryaldridge.com. I promise you, I or my wife, Dawn, as you guys may or may not know, she's in the background sometimes to me and helps in the back. We are on it. And we are here to help you. And we will help walk you through issues if you need them. And if it's a particular pricing question, I love tackling those. Like, I'll help you. Absolutely. And some of it's just learn, right? Everything's a learning experience. Is anybody on that wants to ask any questions? Was this helpful? I hope. I mean, does it give you some basic premise? I know I didn't go a whole lot into it, and I'll just be honest. RPR, play with the things, get your comps, move your little screen, see if you like it. If you don't, then dig down a little deeper. How's that for my synopsis,
I
right?
think everybody should spend time learning what else RPR does, because it does a lot of cool things.
Exactly.
I mean, social media stuff.
Oh, it does.
all sorts
And,
of
and if you
things.
really are not looking at all that RPR can do for you, there's webinars all the time that, like, you could go online and find all their stuff. And if you're ignoring it, you really shouldn't. You really need to go in and look and see what all they have available for you. I use that as my as my CMA now. I send that report. That's the coolest report. And you can go in and get rid of some of this stuff. You can go in there and tweak the things that you think are of no value, right? Again, know your audience. If they want all of it, give it to them. But if they just want a high level, give them the Reader's Digest version. Put all the information in that report. You can email it, you can print it, right? It's super easy. And it's easy to show them because it shows them, if you open that up and say, oh, look here, it says your house is worth $395,000. What do you think about that? And then shut up for a second and listen to what they say, right? Well, tell me why you don't really agree with that. Because, I mean, this is, you know where it's pulling, right? Have a conversation. But show them the stars, right? Show them the confidence rating. Because that thing ain't wrong much. I'll just be honest, since I've used RPR in the past 8 years, heavy, I don't know that I've been surprised more than 1 or 2 times. Like, it's pretty darn good. Now you compare it to Zillow, go compare it to Zillow sometime.
Well, I was about to say, your clients are all going to look at Zillow.
Mhm.
This is Zillow with actually accurate information.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't have access to
They
this.
don't have access.
They don't have access
Yeah,
to
they-
all that we have access to. However, if you want to test that theory, open up Zillow. Be careful, somebody will call you. Open up Zillow. Sorry, didn't mean to laugh at myself there, but it's the truth. Open up Zillow, open up RPR, put that property in both of those. Some of them will be pretty close, but there'll be one. And I'd almost guarantee you that the one that you're doing, Matthew, the one we just started with, will be one that'd be a little bit funky. It might be a little bit, might not be. There's always a difference. And they can't justify it. The difference in them and us is we can justify ours.
We put it
Understand.
in, we put it in every one of our listing presentations.
It's easy.
There's, when we have a page.
You pull the
that's talking-
estimate.
Yeah, we have a page at the end that kind of like, here's our recommended range of prices, whatever. We always have the RPR, we have Zillow, we have Realtor.com. There's one more, I forget. We put 4 of them in there, and we're all, this is the most accurate one.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. It's
Yeah,
not
I know.
exact science, but this is the most accurate one every single time.
It is. And that's the reason we use it.
I had one lady that was mad because I hadn't put hers on Zillow when you could still do that.
Mhm.
And I said, I'll do it. I'll, I have an account on there.
Sure.
And I put it in there and it made her house like 40,000 less.
Yeah. And all the people are looking at our house and going, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I think that you guys out there that are listening on virtually, and for those of you that are here, you are the experts. People come to you for a reason. You spend your time and your effort and your money. You got into this for a reason, right? I know it's to make money. That's great. But it's also to help people. And the more that you understand to its core that that's what we do, we help people. I love that. And I will end with this, and I apologize. I had one more thing because you mentioned it earlier, Matthew, and I think it's one of the things that I fail daily. I'm going to be honest with you. I fail daily. Listings. How hard is it to call a listing when nothing's going on?
It's not fun.
When should we set the expectation of how often we're going to call them, when we're going to call them, regardless of whether there's good news or bad news.
I call them every time something happens and I tell them, I'm gonna call you at least weekly, if not every time something happens.
Yeah, I think both of those are exactly the answer. So if you didn't hear what Matthew said, and you didn't hear what I don't do enough, if you get a listing, tell them you want to set yourself apart, right? Here's another thing that sets you apart, and don't fail to do it. I'm going to call you every Monday. I make my listing calls every Monday between 8 and 12, right? Or 9 and 12, whatever. Whatever time you set aside that time when you're doing whatever it is that you do. I don't care what it is. You'll say it's Sunday. I don't care. But you tell them this is when I call people. There's two things that happens with that. First of all, you're setting an expectation. They know you're going to call. Or when there's news, right? If there's something happening, somebody's inquired, somebody's asked a specific question, hey, would they consider this or this or this, blah, 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 right? We have some interest. They're waiting until next week. There are people coming in from Texas, blah, blah. You feel like you want to share that, that's fine. But if you call them on, if you set the expectation up front that you're going to call them every, let's say Monday, I'm going to call you every Monday, good or bad. If there's nothing, even if there's nothing happening, I'm going to call to tell you there's nothing happening. And, you know, do you have any questions for me? You know, do you think, you know, at some point we probably have to have that conversation. What do we not like to do? It's have uncomfortable conversations, right? It's hard to say, wow, I'm committing to call you even if nothing's happening. What does that stop that? What does that stop? Well, not 100% stop it, but it does help. What does it stop?
Them sitting out thinking about in their head.
Calling you at 9 o'clock on a Thursday going, what the hell, what's going on in the property? I haven't heard from you 2 weeks. No. I told you I'm calling you every Monday. So call them every Monday, and it'll keep you from getting called at 9 p.m. Some, most of the time. And even if they call you 9 p.m., you text them back, say, hey, call you Monday, nothing's up. Right? You don't have to answer that call because you set the expectation and they're waiting for your call on Monday. And you'll have the conversation. And yeah, it's an uncomfortable conversation, guys. But they're owed that. And I need to do better. I'm just telling you, we all should do better in that. And we'll save ourselves a lot of trouble if it's part of our package, right? It's part of all the things that I'm bringing to you. Why am I as good as I am, right? So then, why not do it? How many of y'all do that? How many have, I know Matthew, you said you do. Does anybody else that has listings, have they did a really good job of meeting that expectation up front, telling them that's what they're going to do and do it?
I think the highway to hell was paved with good intentions.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we can always do better. But I think in setting that expectation, if we set it, we're also, that's gonna give us that slap in the face when we remember that we didn't do it, because typically if you said it, you're gonna remember it at some point during that day too.
Mhm.
So put it on your calendar. That's what I do.
Let me ask you this. If any of you have ever been in a relationship and you have a wife or a husband or a significant other, did not talking help anything?
Thank you.
Did avoiding the subject ever help anything?
Cause a divorce with me.
See, if you didn't hear that, she said it causes a divorce. Well, it can, absolutely. My point is, we all don't like to do that, right? We don't want to have those uncomfortable conversations and just say, guys, I hate to tell you, but you know, there's nothing going on right now. It could be a sign of the market, you know. But here's what you can also include, right? Don't just come with no information. Hey, by the way, here's what's sold in the past week. You should have them set up on some kind of an email alert. Anything that's sold in their price point, they need to be seeing what's selling and what else is what's coming on the market and what else, what's reducing. They need to have the same information that you have because they're sitting there blind. They don't know, right? They are educated to a point, but they don't see the hot sheet every day, right? Can you make them see the hot sheet every day? Absolutely. Or once a week, right? Send them something that comes in on Sunday. I'm going to send you a market report every Sunday, and I'm going to follow it up with a call on Monday so that we're going to say, hey, while we didn't have any showings, it looks like the market was a little slow this week. Here's what sold within that zip code or within your subdivision or within whatever price point or whatever you compared it to, right? They see it because it got emailed to them. This is where we are. This is kind of what we see. And we've seen this many price reductions in the neighborhood. So we're seeing that it's, for whatever reason, we just don't have that number of buyers. So part of that is, economical with, the interest rates, uncertainty, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things we can't control. But if you're sharing the same information that's giving you your information, what does it make them understand? There's a reason. It's not just,
You're not working.
yeah. And the last thing you want to do is tell them that, the dirty little secret is any realtor comes in here, takes pictures, and it all goes up and everybody sees it. And, you can have the one that has the house that explodes into being out of nowhere, and that's all nice and catchy, and that's the hot thing right now, whatever. That's not what's going to sell your house. Price, location, timing, economic conditions, and other things, right? So at the end of the day, that's what you want to keep first and foremost. I'm gonna stop. Anybody have any questions that is here virtually, or anybody here that has anything that they'd like to add, any particular circumstances or anything that they would like to share?
Ask you about your upfront costs that you're telling people that this is what you're gonna expect them to pay you. How are you working? Are you doing it
Like up front, like if I'm asking them to pay me before I ever start?
Well, on your listing agreement or however you're working it, you said you were these people are gonna price it too high. I'm gonna make sure that they pay me X. How are you structuring that? Are you telling every single person that's not your new gig? Hey,
That's my new gig.
So
I used to not do it. I actually put our transaction fees on there now.
I got burned.
I love
that same thing.
I do it all the time.
They took it off the market a week later after we already had an offer coming in. They're like, we don't want to sell. Let's change your mind. And so I'm like, okay, now I'm stuck with this huge freaking fee.
Yeah.
I'm paying this.
There's extra line in the listing.
So put it on the listing agreement? Is that what
Yeah.
do every single time?
I ain't gonna let them sign it without it.
So do you have them pay you when
Huh?
they cancel?
You're gonna have a lot.
I do it. I put the two things I put on. I call it a brokerage fee, which is the transaction fee. I put it on buyer agency agreements and the listings. I had a lady do this many years ago, and I looked at her and went, wow, that's crazy. She said, I make 100%. You're at 100% brokerage, and we tell you you're at 100% brokerage, and here's why. Here's how you can do it. It's not that hard, right? And you think about the world we live in right now. When I started, 3% was kind of what people thought they could get, and that's kind of what the norm. I don't like to use that word, but that's kind of where we were, right? Where are we now? We're not at 3%. We're barely at 2.5%, and most time they're fighting for 2 to 2.25 to 2.5, right? I mean, that's the market we live in. Some, I won't list for less than 3% now. I will not list for less than 3%. And oh, by the way, and the additional line says, and you're going to pay it if the termination doesn't sell, blah, 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 expires. You're going to write me a check. Right? And I'm adding the other fee for the brokerage. And it's based on whatever the sale price is, right? So whatever that brokerage fee, I just tag it on. And I say, that's the brokerage's cost. This is my cost. And if you believe in your price well enough. Now, I will say this, if I have a contentious listing and they won't sit there and argue with me, which that's never a good thing to start on any kind of business relationship, right? I would probably not charge them for the marketing. I would remove that line only if what? If they agree to what? My price. The price that I came up with that I know it'll sell for. Right? Reasonably. Now I can't control 6 months. If it doesn't sell, then that's on me. I'm not going to offer that unless they argue. If they argue, then we're probably going to have a rough time anyway. I typically just do it, and I don't say 2 seconds about it. I just say, this is how it works. Just understand that this is how it works. I believe in my ability to sell the property, and it comes out of my fee. But if you terminate for any reason, I have incurred expenses, and I'm not in the charity business. That's how I handle it. And I highly suggest that you put them in your buyer agency agreements and you put them in all of it. Buyer agency is just a brokerage fee. I call it a brokerage fee admin. You can call it anything you want to.
So you close successfully and you charge them for the transaction fee too?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's easy.
I think
Like, here's the conversation I have. Mr. Seller, this is my fee. Out of that, I incur all the marketing expenses. Here's what you will pay the marketing expenses if for some reason you terminate, it expires, it doesn't sell. But we believe it's going to sell because we got it priced right. If I get to that point, I'm fairly confident I've got a sellable product, right? This is what I charge. It's not the brokerage. Brokerage don't get that money. Brokerage gets that. This is the brokerage's fee. That's the truth. It's easy. And a lot of times you're having to go with 2.5, right? If you got 2.5%, if they're sitting there competing, I'll do it all day, but I'm going to charge you the brokerage fee. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? I mean, it's not a lot, but it adds up. It adds up. And they don't care. Allison and them are perfectly happy. Listen, as owners, right? As former owner and as owners, the owners love for you to make money. They don't care. Like it's all about, successful transactions. We know that we're a small cog as the owners and brokers. We know we're a small cog. We know where it originates. The reason Realty One Group exists is because we try to create an agent-centric organization that we allow you to make these decisions, right? You own this business. When you come to me asking, can I reduce my commission? I'll be like, duh, I don't care. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to go around saying, I'll list your home for 1%. I mean, unless you just want to you don't want that reputation, right? But could you? Sure.
I'm sorry, I'm feeling dumb on this.
No.
So where do you submit? Do you submit that to the attorney before closing? Okay.
Oh yeah, I just send it over to them. And if they need to see proof of it, it's in the buyer's agency agreement or the listing agreement. I've never had one ask for proof, but maybe I might have sent one. I've done it. Listen, I didn't do it. I didn't do it until I went back into residential real estate kind of full time. But I saw enough people doing it. And I was like, why not? And it's easy. And if you go in and just say this and no, by the way, it's not that big a deal. They don't care. I mean, they've got, well, what is this? I'm like, well, that's what the brokerage gets. They have expenses too. This is how they make their money. I make my money like this, but all of my money is all the running I do, all the expert, all the things that I have to do to get. I mean, how many times have you guys had a listing where you meet the painters and you have to do so much more? Sweet mom, I mean, things that you do that you never get paid for, right? It's part of what we do.
So just did that one. That was fun.
Do I know?
Get a dead squirrel off the back porch.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, there's everything, right? My point to it is it's not that big a deal. It's only as big a deal as you make it. And for me, and I'll be happy to do a real quick, I'll do a real quick one, and maybe I'll even just do a video and I'll do a role play with somebody and I'll say, here's what I do. And I'll show you exactly how I do it, and I'll show you exactly where it goes. And I don't make a big deal of it. But I just say it just like that. I said, brokerage, for me to list your house, Mr. Seller, it's 3%. If I like you, 2.5.
Well, if they're gonna buy a house with you too, then.
If they're gonna buy a house, this is a whole nother thing. Now, there's another little trick I throw in listings. And over the years, if Mr. Seller, a buyer comes unrepresented and he wants me to represent him, and I become a dual agent. This is the dual agent world. This is the one where you have to be very careful, and you better know what the hell you're doing, and you better make sure that I know, and I'm confident that you know what you're doing. But there's nothing wrong with being a dual agent, but you better understand it. But hey, Mr. Seller, if an unrepresented buyer comes along and he's not represented, and typically you said that you were willing to pay up to 2.5%. If he comes in and I represent both parties, or even I don't represent both parties, but I write and I handle this transaction, and he's either unrepresented or dual agent, I'm gonna do the whole deal for $4. I can't tell him I have written, they sign on the spot at that moment. Now, how many of those did I done over the years? I can count them on two hands that I've done in 20 some years. And I'm very careful about how I do it. And I'm very arm's length. Like I prefer not to be a dual agent, and I prefer you not to be a dual agent. I'm just gonna be honest. And I got a world where I think that may change, that may not even be possible down the
I
road.
prefer them to just be an unrepresented
Yeah,
buyer. And like you
unrepresented
said,
buyer,
you
absolutely,
can
because then you spell it out.
Yeah.
And somebody said, well, as an unrepresented buyer, can I write a contract? Yeah. You do not do anything except you say, you fill in the blanks. You give no advice, and you put something out there that says, you are signing that you are an unrepresented buyer. It says in working with real estate agents, doesn't it? Well, it's working with real estate agents that you hand them, say, I'm a representative of who? Starts out with the seller, right? You didn't make it unclear at all. But you just have to be careful. And if you ever want any help working through those scenarios, I'm more than happy to help you. Right? I'm all about making money, guys. I'm all about helping you maximize your return. And at the end of the day, you want them happy. I've not had a single transaction that's closed this year, and I am closing a lot right now. I've not had a single transaction that didn't have that extra fee on it. Actually, both those extra fees on it. And I have ecstatic clients right now because I am working my tail off for them. Yeah.
So your photography and your sign fee and your transaction fee are on top of the commission the company's charging? Are they? Okay. Only if they don't.
Only if they don't.
Only if they don't. Okay.
All of that money that you spend on photography, on anything else that you spend it on, right? All of that money is part of doing business. I'm not saying you no, because then it becomes greedy. I'm saying if you terminate, if we have a parting of the ways,
okay,
that's when you're going to pay me back for that
I agree with that.
$300 to $500 to $1,000, whatever they've chosen for that package, right? And get real familiar with your people, like whoever you use for your, and understand what those prices are. Know going in when you have that conversation, don't sit there and fumble through, right? Know what Michael Hellinger will charge you for a 3,000 square foot home, or what that video extra is going to cost, and know basically what AK Media or whoever you're using, right? Know what those prices are when you go in and just put it in. And you can round it down a little bit, and also have your transaction fees kind of close at hand somewhere. Maybe put it on like in your notes under the Realty One Group Revolution tab on your phone so that you can find it really quick. Because if you're like anybody else, I'm like a squirrel. I can't remember anything, right? I can't even remember, it changed when we came over, and I remember what the old ones were. And then when we updated right before we sold, and then now yours is a little bit different, and most of them are actually even better than ours were. So, but just have those so you know, right? If it's $500,000 house, well, they're going to charge you, add it.
But you could also, you don't have to do what the exact transaction fee is. You could just say $300.
Or you could just go just to offset it a little bit.
Just to offset your transaction.
Yeah, if
We
you
have
want to
a lot of
offset
agents
some of the
that do
general
that.
basic
They
costs.
just do $250 or $300.
Sure.
That's why I did it, because I was kind of afraid of the 500.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, right. Yeah, true.
Maybe in Blake, like,
Yeah, if you're afraid to put $800 in, which I'm not, if you're afraid to put $800 in, put $400. But don't go at it going, this is what. No, you go in and say, this is what it is. You just nod your head. Remember the penguins on Madagascar? What did they say? Just smile and nod, boys. Just smile and nod, right? So just lead them through it, right? You make it a big deal, they make it a big deal. Anybody else? Anybody up here got anything?
There's one person in the chat. We don't
I'm
have
looking,
time to
hold on.
go into it right now.
She wanted your opinion on a pricing of a property, but you can probably get with her later on that.
Who's this one?
Kai.
Oh, the Tacoma Drive?
Yeah, but
Kai, who
we're
are
at
you?
2 hours now, so I'm.
Yeah, no, I know we've gone a long way, and I've literally got to go to show houses.
But I'll tell Kai, she can
Can
reach
you-
out to you and.
Can she, if you don't mind, just message her and
Yeah.
she can send it to me and we can have a conversation. I'm more than happy. If you have one that's difficult, if you want to have a conversation about one that's difficult, that you're having trouble evaluating, or if you're having trouble in any way, shape, or form, I will say this. And I'd say this because agenthelp@barryaldridge.com. Everybody says, oh, email me. I promise you. Because guess who's handling agent help right now while I'm not here or while I'm riding? She is kicking it, and she's way smarter than I ever dreamed to be. I promise you. between the two of us, there's not a problem that we ain't probably ran across at some point. Brandon knows. Anybody who's been with us a long time knows, like we are
I
as
think I
good as it
brought
gets.
in a couple of problems that he'd never seen before, but
That's the one thing I will say that gives me somewhat of a distinct advantage over you guys is I've seen all your problems. And it does give me, but we learn from them too. So we use a lot of them in our private network and on the Facebook group. I try to share as much as I can so that you will understand. Now, last thing, and we're done. Thank you guys. Forms are a changing. The forms, they are a changing, right? What are we no longer doing? Everybody know? What's the biggest one? What have we done? What did South Carolina do last year and North Carolina's doing this year? Decouple.
Yeah, decoupling.
We decoupled those commissions. They're no longer on the listing agreement.
What's that?
When the new forms come out, you are not, the seller is not, they're just saying that they are inclined to accept these 220s and anything. It doesn't change our conversation. I'm just saying that the listing now is all about what you are charging for your service. And inside that listing, you will have a conversation about what they may be willing to offer. There's no guarantee. And subsequently, every offer that comes in now will have to have what? Attached to it a compensation agreement. So when you go in as a buyer, don't forget that. They're not going to send you a 220. I'm still going to do them because I think the sellers do everybody a disservice if they're willing to do it. Go ahead and have it ready so it makes it easier, but they don't have to anymore. And even if they do, if you're a buyer, you're supposed to submit that compensation agreement.
So is that becoming
That's a law.
negotiation point?
It's a
now
piece
for the
of it.
buyer?
Yep. And we're not sure that it won't eventually be in the contract similar to what it is in, it needs to at least be a checkbox. But just keep that in mind. Negotiate your commissions. The buyers are going to come in and the buyer's agents are going to come in with their commissions being negotiated. And all of a sudden, what I hated about all this change is that we are now part of the negotiation. We never should have been.
So it's a
But
leverage thing for the.
they've done it, and yeah, because now we're a part of the conversation. I don't like it. Everything that we did to try to create transparency and everything, now it's this. I'm gonna bring Brandon an offer on his property. I'm gonna ask for 3%. He's all right, and we all of a sudden we're negotiating that back and forth. We shouldn't be a part of that, but that's just my opinion, and we live with what we got. So just keep that in mind. Thank you guys very much. I hope this was helpful, and I apologize because Dom knows me very well. I'm like a squirrel. I'm all over the place.
A
Thanks
couple
again.
people said great training. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Good to see you.